All right, hello, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to finish up and do the checkout. So I already did my add quantity to order function. I did the definition, and now I'm testing to make sure that it works as expected. So if I pick item number 2, which is $3, and I pick 6, the price is $18, so it's working as expected. If I pick number 6, it's 0. So if I pick 20, it's still $0. So it is working as expected. So now it's time to do the checkout. So there's a couple of things about the checkout because the checkout is going to use two helper functions. So we're going to implement the two helper functions first. So I'm going to take these two function prototypes and I'm going to add them here. And then I'm going to take these function definitions and I'm going to add them. So these two helper functions are check for enough money and the reload function. They're both very simple to implement, but the check for enough money, the checkout function, it's a checkout function, is not going to work as expected unless it uses these functions. So we're going to do these one by one, and then we're going to use the main function as a driver just to make sure that these work as expected. And then if they do work as expected, then we can, call them from the checkout function. So let's do the check for enough money function first. This function takes the balance and the total price and makes a copy of those, and it's going to test if it's enough money to make a purchase. So in other words, if the balance, that's the balance in the account, is greater than or equal to the total price, then it's going to return 1. If it's not, then it's going to return 0. So we need to make sure that this function is working as expected. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use the main function as a the main function right here, just anywhere, it doesn't really matter. We're testing. We're using the main function as a driver so that we can test to make sure that this function works as expected. So this would be int num equals, the function is check for enough. So we're going to pass it $10 and $20. Oops. So just, again, we're just testing. This is not where we're going to use it. We're just making sure the function works as expected so that we know that we can use this function from our checkout function. So, and to test it, then we're going to print the number returned was. All right, so here we have a 10 and a 20. So if check for enough, the balance would be 10, total price is 20, so it should return a 0. So let's test and see if it returns a 0. The number returned is a 0, so we know that that's working as expected. So now we just change this, and this time it should return a 1. The number returned was a 1, so now we can feel very confident that the check for enough function is working as expected, so we can remove this function call from main, and now we're going to do our next function. Our next function is the reload function. So this is going to take the balance, ask how much to be added, add that to it, and return the new balance. So let's go down here and do the implementation. All right, so we're going to declare the amount. We're going to ask the user, printf, how much to add. All right, then we're going to scanf, %LF. If you notice, I'm testing everything. I'm not rushing and trying to do everything all at once because it actually ends up taking longer, right? So the balance is going to come in and make a copy. We're going to get the add amount. We're going to add that add amount to the balance and return the new balance with the amount added. So now we need to check and see if this function is working as expected. So once again, we will do this just like we did before. We will go to this is our main function. We will go to the beginning of our main function here, and we will test to make sure this works as expected. So we will just do double num equals, and it's the reload function. So the reload function is going to take a balance. Maybe we'll just pass it $20. Again, we're just testing here. This is just to test. We're not actually going to call this function from here, but of course we want to make sure it's working as expected. So double the new balance is, and I'm not using balance, I'm just using a different variable just to test. So let's make sure this works as expected. All right, how much do you want to add? $40. The new balance is 60, so this is working as expected. Try it one more time. We want to add 1275, 1276. Of course, I want to make it nicer and easier to understand, but you guys can add all of those features later. All right, so I'm confident that my reload function is working as expected, and I'm confident that my check for enough function is also working as expected. So now it's just time to get the last function here. And the last function is the checkout function. So here is our checkout function prototype, which I will add here. And we've got the function definition here for checkout. So let's read about this function. This function takes the balance and the total price, and then it's going to call the reload function. It's going to call the check for enough function, and it's going to continue to get money from the user until there is enough to make the purchase. Then it's going to subtract and return the remaining balance. All right, so I've actually given you a lot of help on this function. So let's take the function definition here and put it down here below main. And this will be the last thing we need to do. All right, so let's take a look at it. All right, so we're going to have a loop here. So the loop, test for the loop, we have a variable called enough. And if enough gets the value of 0, that means there's not enough money in there. And how are we going to get a value for enough? We're going to get a value for enough by calling the check for enough function, passing the balance and the total. And if there's enough, it will return a 1, and we're going to completely skip this loop. If there is not enough, it will return a 0, and we will go into this loop. So then we're going to we're going to display the balance and the total here. So you're going to have to add a printf here. Printf, tell them they don't have enough. Printf is you need to add more money. You need to add more, and display the balance is %.2f, and the total is %.2f. 0.2F. And so we need to put the balance here. And the total. All right, so you're only going to go into this loop if there's not enough. All right, so you should display this nicer than I am. Okay, so then if there's not enough, what do they have to do? They need to pass the balance over to the reload, which we know works because we've tested it. We're going to reload, then we're going to once again and check to see if there's enough. So you're going to check to see if there's enough. There's not enough. You're going to tell the user there's not enough, reload the money, and check to see if there is enough. So it's just going to keep doing that until there is enough. So let's test it and see if it works as expected. So how do we test it? Well, we need to finish it. So once this means there's not enough, but once there is enough, then you're going to subtract the total from the balance. Right? So you're going to say balance equals balance minus the total price, and return the new balance. Return balance. All right, so let's logically go through this again. We start out, we have our balance. It's actually going to start at $20. If the price is less than $20, we're just going to subtract the price from the total and then return the balance. If the price is more than $20, we're going to find out that it's not enough because this is check for enough is going to return a 0. We're going to tell the user they need to add more. We're going to reload. We're going to use the reload function. Then we're going to see if we have enough yet. If we still do not have enough, we're going to repeat that until we do have enough. And then eventually, when we have enough, we're going to subtract the total from the balance and return the new balance. Okay, so now we just need to call the function and display the ending balance, which I think we have here. The ending balance. All right, let's test it and see if it works as expected. All right, pick item number 2. I'm going to get 10 of those. The price is $30. I'm going to add $2. The price is $30. I'm going to add $2. The price is still $30. I'm going to add $10. And now it's working as expected. So hopefully this video is going to help you guys to be able to complete this assignment.